morning, Stampers. Welcome to Learning with Friends. I am Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair. And because it is the second Thursday of the month, it is template time. So I'm going to share with you my sketch number 6. I haven't been going in any order. So if you didn't see 5, don't worry about it because I haven't done 5. I just kind of picked hit or miss depending on what stamp set I wanted to use or what designer series paper or whatever supplies I wanted to use. So today is the second Thursday, like I said, which is April 10th. And so I just want to give a quick shout out to somebody who's very special to me and wish them a happy birthday. I don't know if they'll be watching or not, but if you are, happy birthday. So now let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to flip my camera down and I will show you the sketch and then I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to use to make it, okay? So here's my sketch number 6. It has a longer flag element over here, just kind of a rectangle and then a circle. And as always, I show a circle. It doesn't have to be a circle, but I am using circles today for the cards I'm going to make. And the card I'm going to make to demonstrate, I am going to follow the sketch pretty close. I am going to use a new stamp set that will be coming in the 25-26 annual catalog in May. So this is a little bit of a sneak peek of that. It is called Gallery Blooms. And we're going to use this flower down here. Love this one. Love them all, actually. The dies they have dies for most of those floral images. And then there's also a die to make a couple of frames. And the interesting part about that is, let me just pull that out for you quickly. This is something I really like about this particular die set. Was probably why one of the reasons I went and picked it first to get when it was on the pre-order is you cut 2 frames at the same time. Now we can cut frames of various thicknesses using layering rectangle dies, right? And we do that often. But when you do that and you have 2 different rectangles, you have to make sure you get them centered and spaced equally so that your frame's the same all the way around. But this die, they've done all that was for us, so that's great. We are not going to be using the frame after all that. Not today, but you will be seeing it, I promise, because I love this set. So let's just go ahead. I am going to share with you some sneak peeks of the new in colors because we are going to use a couple of them in this card. I have everything all cut. And as much done as possible because it's not really about me showing you how to stamp or whatever. It's more about showing you and explaining the template. So I have all my pieces cut. And I chose to emboss my background panel using the Forever Plaid embossing folder. Love that. I love that folder. If I have it laying out here or not, I thought I laid it out here, but it'll show up. This is the joys of construction. I cannot find anything. And no, we're not done. Had a couple scheduling glitches with the countertops actually. So it is looking like it is. I was hoping things were going to be done by the middle of April. We start at the beginning of March. I thought they'd be done by the middle of April, but it's looking like I might be lucky if it's done at the end of April. So taking a little longer than I expected and hoped. And so I am working from my messy little area, teeny tiny little area. And it makes it very difficult for me to find stuff. You'd think I could find it easy because it's all like within a, 5-foot diameter basically, but it's also all on top of each other. So we've got our first layer on. Now the next layer, if you look at the sketch, this rectangle here goes behind the flag. So I want to put that down next. And I am using some new designer series paper called Florals in Bloom. This is from another suite in the annual catalog, and I just thought I'd show you quickly here. These are beautiful floral patterns. These use a lot of the new in colors. So I just kind of flip through these. I've got the big 12 by 12 pieces. Love this one. Isn't those colors pretty? This is a new in color called Soft Cloud or something like that. And then this one is another of my favorites. We'll flip them over. We have some little bit smaller patterns, so we're going to use this pattern on our card today. Here's another beautiful floral blackberry bliss in there, some greens, and we're using this one here. This is another blackberry bliss, and this is the another new in called something. I haven't learned these names yet, but I did update my little color coach. So when I refer to a color coach, this is what I'm talking about. Stampin' Up! Has this document that has, if you want to use pretty in pink, it gives you 3 combinations, suggestions of those, how to use those colors. Those were last year's in colors. So the new 25-27 in colors, we have Secret Sea. This is the dark one. It goes with this designer series paper over here. It's a very dark, dark blue. I have a difficult time even seeing the blue in it. There is a hint of blue, but it's quite dark. This one is the cloud cover. That's the one I was looking for. This is the one we saw on the other side. I'm going to lose my pieces when I do this. This is probably not a good idea. Probably a really bad idea, but here's cloud cover. This is Darling Duckling. Kind of a, I'm going to call it a little bit of a dirty yellow. It's bright. It's somewhere between Daffodil Delight and Crushed Curry, I would say. And here's Timid Tiger, a really pretty orange, but kind of a soft orange, not super harsh or bright. And then the other color we're going to use today is this Strawberry Slush. Strawberry Slush was in color several years ago, and they brought it back. So that's always kind of fun. So let me get these out of the way, and hopefully I didn't bury any pieces in them. So let's go ahead and put this down. And again, I'm going to bring them, try to see if I can get both of them in here. And I'm going to make my card today into an Easter card. I am still working on Easter cards. I'm really thankful that Easter is kind of late this year because I keep adding people to my list and then I need more cards. So this is the Strawberry Slush, and we're going to use this for our flag. And when I make a flag, I usually just snip. I go into the center. I just eyeball it. You could measure it, and then go from the corner to that snip. And then from the other side. That's how I make a flag. You can use a little square punch. People do them different ways. This has just been the easiest for me to get the center in the center. When I use a punch, I have a hard time ending up in the center. If I just snip in from one side and then the other, I have a hard time getting in the center. So I just go up the center and then clip in towards that. So let's go ahead and layer this on here. And I am using liquid adhesive, not necessarily my favorite thing, but since I am placing these on an embossed surface, it is recommended to use liquid adhesive. It just sticks a little bit better because it gets down into the nooks and crannies of the embossing folder. Now this Forever Plaid embossing folder is not 100, the lines aren't perfectly straight. They're a little wavy. So sometimes you look to get it straight and you tend to want to line it up with the plaid, and it's, don't do that. That's all I can say. And then I have my circle that we're going to add here. And I'm going to stamp my sentiment, my Easter greetings on here first. I think I'll use some strawberry slush. Like I said, we are going to use, I used this flower and I stamped this on watercolor paper with Stays On ink. And then I watercolored it with my water painters. This is the Darling Duckling and the Timid Tiger. Oh, look at that, I got ink on myself already. And Granny Apple Green. And I figured the purpose here was not to show you how to watercolor, but we're going to place that about here. So I'm going to lay that there, and I'm going to stamp my greeting. Grab my paper piercing mat here, because this is strawberry slush. Kind of a good Eastery color, I thought. And I'll have you one closer to having enough. I'm getting there. I thought I was done, and then I'm like, oh, but I forgot so-and-so, and I forgot so-and-so. So I needed about 3 or 4 more. So this week I've been slowly working away on those. Now I'm going to adhere this with dimensionals. You can see I stamped it twice on the back side, and it didn't come out very well. So I flipped it over, 2 sides to every paper, right? Even watercolor paper, although one side is smoother than another on watercolor paper, but for this purpose, they both work just fine. My Stays On pad hadn't been used in a while, and even though I re-inked it and took my spoon, it just didn't. Took me a few times to get it to stamp well. So I'm going to kind of just lay this around that circle there and add some more dimensionals here. You know me, I like my dimensionals. And as we all know, they get everywhere in your house, right? Now you can put this kind of anywhere you want. I just want to make sure my Easter is straight. And I'm going to add some of these flat pearls. They are the 25, 27 in colors that I just showed you. So we've got our Secret Sky, our Cloud Cover, Timid Tiger, Darling Duckling, and Strawberry Slush. I have to keep saying them so that I learn the names. So if it sounds repetitive, the repetition is more for me than it is for you. And they come in 3 different sizes, which is nice. These are beautiful embellishments. I like them. And then I just thought I'd add medium size. This is the largest one. Put a medium size in the corner. And then I'm going to use 2 small ones on each side of that. I know I can turn adding embellishments into a project. So I told myself I wasn't going to do that today. Because I can way overthink it. So that is our card using this template. Let's finish up the inside quickly, just so I can say I have my Easter card done. How's that? You can hang around with me so I can get one more card done. Then I have 2 more cards to show you. And I am going to use my Strawberry Slush again. Maybe. I just had it. Where did I put it? Oh, this is ridiculous. Maybe I'm not going to finish it inside my card. Here it is. Hiding under my paper pierce mat. I'll be so glad when I can get back to being, at least not having an excuse for being disorganized. Right now, I feel like I have a good excuse, even though I still have the issue. So I am using an old retired stamp, and you can see it's old. It is wood mounted. When I became a demonstrator, I think it was in February, and the Spring Mini had just come out, and that is usually where we find our Easter stamps. And so I think that was the very first stamp set I bought as a demonstrator. Now, before signing up as a demo, I had purchased plenty before, but I think this was my first one that I bought when I signed up as a demonstrator. So let's just add this little snippet of scrap of this paper along the bottom here. And I always like to make these longer, and then just trim them off. That way I get a nice even edge without it being potentially too short. If it's too long, that's fine. I can always trim it down. So I just tend to like to start with it long. Uh-oh. I ran out. That's why I was using liquid, right? That was the end of my stamp and seal. I have a refill around here somewhere. Somewhere. I don't know where it might be though. Some place hidden very well for me. So we will just use our green glue and get sticky fingers. I do not understand how people who use this don't get glue all over their fingers. I feel like I can just look at a bottle of green glue and I've got sticky fingers. Is that pretty straight? Pretty straight. Okay, so that is close to being my last Easter card. And of course, I covered the envelope with some of the paper. So let me show you the other cards. And remind you quickly, here's the template. Now, the next card I'm going to show you is very similar, but I added mats around the flag and the rectangle. So I added these black mats around them to just make it pop a little bit more. And the circle, because this is from the Full of Life or Friends for Life bundle, which is on the last chance list, as is this designer series paper. There's this heart with the open work that you cut out, and I wanted to put some paper behind it. So I had to make this circle a little bit larger than what the template is. And that's fine. Again, this is just a template or a sketch, right? But when you make this bigger, then you have to pay attention to this. So I also made that a little bit bigger. But other than that, it is basically, certainly you can see it is the same template. Added a little ribbon up here, moved my sentiment instead of stamping it here, added the sentiment on there. And then on the inside, I just went to my go-to solution for decorating the inside and added a strip of the DSP. Thought I'd show you the envelope. So I used 3 different patterns here from the Full of Life Designer Series paper. Love this paper, so bright, so cheerful. And I have a lot of it because I bought extras, so I am using it. Had the idea to use this starburst pattern behind here, but I ended up with obviously some scraps because there's 3 different ones. But for some reason, none of them were large enough to cover my envelope flap. I wasn't paying attention when I was cutting them. So I cut them in such a manner that none of the scraps would totally cover this. But I had a piece of this one and I had a piece of this rectangle one here, the starburst. So I took it and I just used 2 strips of each, hid the seam with another little strip of black cardstock. So that's another way to cover your envelope flap when you don't have quite enough scraps. I could have cut into another piece of paper, but let's admit it, it's one of my favorite papers. So I'm kind of hoarding it too. So here is a landscape version of this sketch. Now, to turn this into landscape, obviously you're going to turn your card. And I could have just turned the card and made it that way if I'd wanted, but I decided to keep the same general layout of the sketch with the flag here, a rectangle and a circle. And I just shortened and changed the dimensions. This paper is also a new paper in the catalog. This comes from, actually it is not from the paper. It is an online exclusive that will be available May 1st. And the stamp set is called Cheers and Sips. And I did not bring that. Yes, I do. I have it. It's in my stash back here. So here's all the fun little stamps that come with that. They're in this paper. I have the paper here. Maybe that's what I have. Let me look close. My embossing paper hasn't shown up either. I sworn I grabbed it and brought it out here, but I'm not seeing it. So rather than waste time, it does have some florals. It has designs in it that coordinate with these items, so you can cut them out. And that's what I did for my drink here. And I used the technique that I showed you a couple weeks ago with the packing tape to make it shine. So it looks like it's glass. I just put some packing tape over it after I cut it out from the designer series paper. The Cheers is from this stamp set. This little umbrella is from the stamp set. There is this greenery here, but on the designer series paper, it was already there. So I just fussy cut around that piece. So that is, and I used the all around it dies, or around it all, I think, which are circle, they're layering circles that are just not nice straight circles. They look like something I would have drawn by hand, right? And then on the inside, I added a strip of paper. So this is a birthday card, and just wanted to show you how when you see a sketch or a template, don't get too tied to it. You can change the dimensions. The dimensions are on my sketches, but they are meant as guidelines. And if you're going to move it in the other direction, you probably want to widen it a bit. So that's what I did. I widened it and I shortened it, and then just changed the size of the rectangle as well. So those are the 3 different cards I have for you today using that sketch. What do you think? They're all pretty bright and cheery, right? So let me flip my camera back and we will wrap this up. That's it. Template time for another month is done. I hope you like that. I hope you like the cards, and hope they gave you some good ideas, because that's really what this is all about, is to try to trigger some ideas for you to either case them, make them your own, do whatever you'd like to do. I will put I'm trying to think which, I'm going to put this particular card, a tutorial for this particular card in a link here on YouTube. So you can pull out the tutorial. I know the templates are a little bit hard to read the dimensions, and I don't necessarily give you all the dimensions because I don't want you tied into using the exact dimensions. It's just an idea generator, a thought starter. But I will put the tutorial for this one in a link down below the video. So if you want a tutorial to download, go ahead and look below the video and it'll be there for you. Okay. If you like the video, I'd love it if you give me a thumbs up. Share it with your friends, because the more we can get to watch, the more fun we can have learning together. So have a great day. God bless. And we will see you next week with something else. Have a great one. Bye-bye.